Hi everyone, Kelt here. The opening scene is James Corden telling us he's just about to meet a friend, who just happens to be Prince Harry. They do go back quite a while, so they know each other really well, and I was actually looking forward to seeing it because I thought we would probably see the real Harry in this, or at least get some idea of what's really going on with him. So, James is masked up and riding the top deck of an open-top bus in Los Angeles. He spots Harry and the bus stops to pick him up. Harry jokes about royals not carrying money when he's reminded to pay the bus fare. Harry stands waiting for the bus with his hands on his hips and wearing jeans and a dark polo shirt, also a blue face mask. James is excited to see him and Harry jokes, "Where is the Range Rover?" James says he thought it would be a nice way to see LA on the bus. So there's a lot of laughing and banter going on between the two, which is nice to see, but then that's James Corden's job, to get people to relax and be themselves. Harry agrees that it was very nice riding on the top of the bus and that he had never ridden on the top of an open bus before because he's not really allowed to. So his first words are basically a dig at the restrictions of being a royal. Or is it him trying to really show how important he is? I'm sure Harry could have ridden in an open-top bus in London just as he used to go to the nearby Waitrose to buy his eggs in the morning. So no sympathy there. I'm sure he's done things much more exciting than riding an open-top bus due to his privileges. Horse-drawn open carriages come to mind. I would say that's much more exciting. Harry explains then that when you live in an area, you never actually really get to see it. So that's Harry telling us what we need to do and stating the obvious. He did say that he always wanted to go sightseeing, and he does seem quite excited about this, and again he does seem to be genuinely enjoying it. So far so good. He goes on to explain that because of a lockdown he's not had a chance to see LA and this is his first time. So with all the rumours of doubles and CGI, this to me is the real Harry. It's the real blue-eyed Harry that we remember, so not a double, not the brown-eyed Harry, and I really don't see how it could be CGI to those of you who believe that everything is fake regarding those two. As to when it was recorded, I don't know. I suppose it could have been recorded at any time. I mean, it could have been months earlier, or maybe even the previous year. Do we know when it was recorded? James brings out a trolley with high tea, English style, little sandwich triangles and cakes and tea in bone china teacups, silver teapot, and he says to Harry, "A little slice of home." So Harry's enjoying this. And although at this point he looks as if he's a little concerned about what might be coming next, or what might be talked about next maybe, I think it's because he's sort of been given this tea and he's been lulled into a maybe false sense of security. He says that the cup of tea is very nice, and as far as I'm concerned it's all pretty boring at this stage. James then points out various Hollywood stars' mansions, to which Harry grins. Maybe he gets the irony about being a prince on a tour bus being shown Hollywood stars' homes. Or maybe not. Maybe he's genuinely starstruck, though it looked to me as if he was getting the irony and the humour of it. They joke about doing English tea on the 405 and putting it on Netflix. Harry thinks it's a good idea. At this point, I don't see that he is as relaxed as he was. Maybe he is concerned about what is going to be talked about next. I think so far it's been scripted until the point where the bus swerves and the tea flies everywhere. Harry laughs and James laughs. All fun and games while Harry is laughing and almost spitting out his tea, and James tells him to clean it up. James then tells Harry that although he knows he's very settled in Santa Barbara, that he feels he might need a base in Los Angeles, and that he has actually found the perfect house. All very tongue-in-cheek, of course. He's talking about the house that was used in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air series. Harry is relaxed and his body language shows that he is relaxed and enjoying it, and I think relieved that the focus was then off him and on this house. James asks him if he remembers this song attached to that series, whereby Harry doesn't just say yes, he goes and tries to recite it or sing it. Not quite singing, more a sort of cross between singing and speaking, sort of hip-hop, and comes out with the words, gesturing with a pointed finger while looking down as they both walk up the driveway. Harry was a bit geeky and self-conscious while doing this, but then quickly turned the focus on James by pointing at him and saying that he would tell him how he became the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. James jokes that the house is made for Harry. James knocks on the door, which is opened by the owner of the house, and it's obviously all scripted at this point. James asks how much she would sell this house to Harry for which she replies, "Make me an offer." Harry stands with his hands on his hips again, while James is trying to persuade him to make an offer on the house. Harry is finding reasons not to, then suddenly says he needs to use the bathroom as he is dying for a pee. He jokes that he's had a COVID test and the woman lets him use the bathroom. So all the joking is about Harry being the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It's not particularly funny, and I've seen much more entertaining James Corden interviews and carpool karaokes. This so far has been non-entertainment and quite bland. The only watchable part of it is trying to figure out what's going on with Harry, and also enjoying the views from the open-top bus tour of LA. Harry's introduced to family members by the lady house owner, who is showing him to the bathroom. James then says to the camera that he didn't expect a toilet break. So this is good. This seems as if it's not scripted and shows that Harry either has a weak bladder, or he can't drink tea, or he was nervous. So Harry then pops his head out of a circular window and says to James, "If I'm not out in 5 minutes, come and get me." They both laugh. James Corden is good at getting the best out of people, and I think although they are friends and obviously get on well, I think it was like trying to get blood out of a stone, trying to get any real entertainment from Harry. He definitely doesn't seem the same nowadays as he used to, even when he's sort of enjoying himself. James jokes with Harry that he has spoken to the house owners and that he feels that Harry is more than capable of making this decision. Harry's eyes above his mask look slightly unnerved by this, and when James asks him to hand over his phone, Harry immediately hands it to him, almost like he's used to being given commands without a second thought. Is that left over from the army or Meghan, I wonder? James then asks, "How do I find the Duchess?" To which Harry says, "M." James tells Harry to wait there, he'll take care of this, and he walks a few steps away from Harry to call Meghan. James then says, "Hey Meghan," who is obviously expecting to see Harry's face there, not James Corden. Meghan laughs, and James says that he needs to talk to her about something serious, but he's here with the big guy. He then asks her if she recognises this house and shows her with the phone. Meghan says no, and then we see a shot of her on his screen with probably every filter Apple has ever created, making her look like the epitome of perfection. So definitely scripted, and Meghan was so definitely prepared. And he tells her about the house, and he thinks that they should definitely be living there. This joke about the house by now is getting really old, and the whole thing is quite boring, and I'm wondering if I can watch any more at this stage. But I do. I carry on. For the sake of this video, I carry on. For the sake of you guys, I carry on. James unfortunately tells Meghan that she would become the Fresh Princess of Bel-Air, to which Meghan smiles benevolently into the camera. James, desperate to try and get another laugh because it is completely dire with Harry and Meghan, and he's not really getting much feedback from either of them. So he tells Meghan that Harry has already used the bathroom. Meghan sort of briefly laughs, but back on the subject of the house, she says, "Well, that's wonderful. I think we've done enough moving." While James Corden was on the phone to Meghan and Harry, it looked to me as if Harry didn't care what was said or what questions she was asked or anything because it was out of his hands, and I don't think he would have worried if it was unscripted. In other words, let her say what she likes and mess up because it's out of my hands. Meghan immediately changes the subject and says, directed at Harry, "How's your tour of LA going?" So then we have James Corden joking with Harry about do we call him Haz now? And Harry says, "Well, you're not my wife." Again, this is becoming chronically boring, But they finish the call, still cracking unfunny jokes. Harry bumps elbows with the house owner and off they go. As they go, Harry springs up and down as if this is the first time he's actually been allowed out anywhere, like a puppy with newfound freedom after being quarantined. Now it gets better. Back on the bus, and James hits Harry with the question, "So when did you know that Meghan was the one?" Harry gives his version of when they met and says it was the second date and they just hit it off, saying that they were so comfortable in each other's company, etc. His body language seems genuine, he's emphasising with his hands, and he seems honest, and it's all pretty much what we've heard before. He talked about how it wasn't normal dating because they lived together and got to know each other first, and it was sort of back to front because they didn't do their dinner dates and everything until after they'd lived together, which is what the royals seem to do, and it's the same old stuff that we've heard before. Harry then said that he and Meghan went from 0 to 60 in 2 months. I'd heard that it was 0 to 100 in 2 dates. James goes on to ask what is a normal night in for them, to which Harry replies, "Depending on how the day has been," he says. So you could read a lot into that, couldn't you? He said it was basically all about Archie, and he said it was Archie's bath, book, bed, make or order a meal, TV or watch Jeopardy, Netflix. He had to get his merching in there, didn't he? So James asks Harry about how he feels about the Crown series. Harry emphasises that they are fictional, although there is some truth in it, and he says that he prefers that over the news media. He says that it gives loosely an idea of the lifestyle of royalty, the life of service and duty. He's waving his arms all over the place at this point and over-emphasising this part of it, as if he thinks by saying this over and over, it will make us think he really believes this thing about duty and service and that he has not neglected his, as if we would forget that he had abandoned his duties and service. Or it's as if he doesn't really believe that he has. He's just emphasising all this to maybe convince us otherwise. Harry finishes by saying he's way more comfortable with the Crown than he is by seeing the stories written about his wife, himself and his family. Well, maybe he should stop his wife from putting out fake stories about his family. When asked who he would like to see play him in The Crown, he immediately said Damian Lewis, and they both passionately agreed about that. James jokes that he should be cast as William. Harry thinks for a moment and then says it's not great casting, but it is casting. Asked how he's finding fatherhood, Harry again waves his arms around and says that his son is 1.5 years and that he is hysterical, obviously meaning that his son makes them hysterical. And like this interview, which is like wading through treacle up to this point. So Harry says that Archie has an amazing personality and that he's already putting words together, which we've heard before quite a long time ago, and we knew 1 year ago that his first word was dada. Now Harry says that his first word was crocodile, having just previously said seconds ago that the newspapers put out lies about them as truth. Harry puts out yet another questionable and probable untruth about Archie's first word. Perhaps he meant his first multisyllable word, giving him the benefit of the doubt here. How can we take Harry and Meghan seriously when they are changing their stories frequently? They can't blame the newspapers for that. It's said that to be a good liar, you have to have a good memory also. Harry can't resist bringing his grandmother into the conversation as always, and says that she asked what Archie wanted for Christmas, and Meghan said a waffle maker. So I've had some comments about waffle makers, and there seems to be double meanings in a lot of things that Meghan and Harry talk about. The roasting the chicken, the crocodile, and now the waffle maker. So I'm not even going to go there, and I'm not even going to look it up. So I'll leave that for you, those that want to. So then we have all this joking and banter about the Queen sending to LA a waffle maker for Archie. James seems very starstruck by this, or should I say royal struck. And between the two of them, it's cringeworthy. The royal who is starstruck with Hollywood, and the Hollywood interviewer who is starstruck with royalty. Harry then does an elaborate demonstration with his hands and sound effects, hissing to make the sound of a waffle maker, to demonstrate to James just how you make a waffle. It's so chronically boring, this interview so far, but already I'm craving waffle or something. Maybe a croissant will do. Anyway, back to the show. Then we have Harry animatedly describing how he has waffles for breakfast with yogurt and jam on them. Oh my gosh, this is the first time he looks ecstatically happy, even happier than when he talks about his wife or his son. Is this the only real happiness in his life? Waffles. He is still waffling on. Over-gesturing with his arms, talking fast, and asking, is this the right way to do it? Asking James if it's the right thing to put on top of waffles. And then he says he likes to add berries and syrup or honey, etc. This is so boring and mundane and embarrassing that he thinks this is of interest. On a daily blog, maybe, for those that like to know what people eat, maybe, but not on a one-off TV interview. He's on the top of an open-top bus going through LA. There must be other things that he can talk about to do with his surroundings. But he's talking about food. James Corden then interrupts Harry and says that he is glossing over the fact that he cannot, for the life of him, imagine the Queen ordering a waffle maker to ship to LA. Yes, Harry was glossing over. Harry was trying to take up the time in the interview with safe subjects, I think, like food, to avoid more questions about the royals and about Meghan. And how cringy for James Corden to go on and on about the Queen sending a waffle maker to Santa Barbara. It's embarrassing. Who cares? I'm sure she shipped much more unusual things over the world than that, don't you think? Well, part 2 is coming up next. I'll be working on that video now. And I hope part 2 is more interesting. I think it will be. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and click the bell to ensure that you get an alert for when this part 2 is up on YouTube. So thanks for watching. I'd love to see your comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Please subscribe. Ding my bell for more alerts for more videos. Like if you liked it and share. Bye.